This episode contains language that is not suitable for minors. Please enjoy responsibly. And now, today's episode. Hello and welcome to The Beatdown. This is episode 18. Guess what, guys? We're legal now. We can be drafted. And
in a couple states.
Can't drink.
Yeah, I still can't drink.
Texas? Is 21 national? No, it's still state law, right?
I think so.
Yeah, but it's 21 almost nationally because Ronald Reagan made a point of saying, I will not fund certain infrastructure projects that you might have as a state unless you adopt.
There you go.
Tying it in. This is The Beatdown. We are available on Apple, Google, CastBox, and Stitcher. Subscribe to us and know when a new episode is available. Have something to say or want to be a guest on the show, please email us at thebeatdownmusicpodcast@gmail.com or like us on Facebook. Either way, let us know what you think of the show.
Who's that hardcore band, Tony? Reagan. Ronald.
Oh, right off the bat, Reagan. We're talking hardcore. I love it. Oh, there's a ton. I can think through our 80s stuff.
There's a million Reagan references in every hardcore.
There was the whole rock.
There was where the whole thing was Ronald Reagan, blah, 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 and then this is Reagan, Ronald.
That's why that skit from Saturday Night Live worked so well. They threw in that Alexander Haig line.
Let him eat Jellybeans.
They got him in there.
There's been so much in there.
And fist fight in the parking lot's just a good line too, right? Fist fight in the parking lot. There's going to be one tonight,
That's right. Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
So Chris,
what's on your mind?
We left off the last show. We were we had a lot of different threads, and you said
this thing that happened in the later part of the 60s, actually, it took a while for it to to sort of germinate. And somehow someone had and this is just for the people who don't John doesn't want to all right, so John doesn't want to talk about this. That'll be the first thing I'll say. And then I'll say
nice.
It's about the Paul is dead rumors that went around. Paul is dead. And I can get that, John.
It's just, I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
I get that, and so, right there, So we have to tell Tony though. It's just there was a rumor that was started, Tony, by some DJ out in the Midwest or something like that.
In the U.S.
Started saying that Paul McCartney had died
in 1966, and he's saying this in 68 or even later.
I think it might be 68 or 69, right? Yeah. He starts saying this, and then they start going and looking for all these clues and spinning records backwards and stuff like that. The clue, Billy Shears is really that's Paul McCartney. Billy Shears was a look-alike Paul McCartney guy who, and he's referenced obviously in the on the Sgt. Pepper record.
Oh yeah, you know what?
This
DJ thing actually has to happen after Abbey Road because there's clues on Abbey Road. So so that's August of 69. So this is at the very earliest. It's late 69 that he's saying this.
It's a really goofy, Beatle-y kind of thing. But the interesting part to me would be John, you must have heard about it when you were younger.
Yeah.
So did you do any of the stuff? Did you?
Of course I did.
It's more of what you did or how it made you feel than it is about all the goofy.
Yeah, it's true. I think actually I find the Paul is dead stuff, and maybe I think it's our generation, or even that maybe one more generation after us. But I just remember it was just like a rite of passage. You looked up, you discovered the Paul is dead stuff and looked at this and wow, and it freaked you out. It's it was almost similar to everyone had their no one gets out alive doors moment where it was Jim Morrison was cool and no he wasn't. And you know, and even to a certain extent, like weird, like I think we talked about, it's like I find like people had their like either Abbott Costello or like Marx Brothers moment, or they're like horror movies, or like there's sort of these things that everyone kind of has a moment with where they dip their toe in and they decide no or not, and the people who never leave that are DJs on WFMU.
Yeah. Was there a lack of material coming? Was there a dry spell that someone had to create that fermented this guy to come up with some nonsense?
DJ talking shit, like, oh, I'm gonna be, and he sort of formulated this.
I got it all figured out. I figured out the plot.
And right, and it's he blew his mind out in a car that was about the car crash, and Paul was in a car crash, and he does look a little different in the pictures after.
He chipped his tooth, and you can tell.
And he grows, and in reality, right, Paul kind of grows a mustache to hide.
Grows a mustache to hide a scar.
Now he's got a little screw, but so before that he did, and then he didn't. So. And then, the walrus was Paul was one. Turn Me On, Dead Man. If you turn number 9, you play it backwards. The lettering on the Magical Mystery Tour album is a phone number, and if you call it and you ask for Billy Shears,
you have to ask for Billy Shears at. It's not the one. It's not Monday morning at 5 o'clock as the day begins. It's one of those that you have to call them at the time that's referenced in this song, and it's really goofy stuff. And they called him up, and and I asked for Billy Shears, man, and he was like, "Who is this?" And I was like, and it quickly hung up, and I think it was a British accent. And it was just like,
make that crap up.
Yeah, it's just nonsense.
Right. So Abbey Road, he's barefoot, and that's how they bury and George is dressed as the gravedigger, and that's why he's in jeans, and Paul's barefoot because that's how they bury the dead in the East.
I had some goofy ones that were there's the crack through the Beatles is the obvious thing. They're like on the Abbey Road cover, where it says Beatles, like there's a crack through that. The other one was. Be at the so be Beatles, be at the, because in French, right, means the, so be at the Abbey Road, and then the first letter and the last letter, A.D. after death, John.
Yeah.
You remember that one?
Yes.
Be at the Abbey Road after death.
Yeah.
It's some crazy stuff.
Which is the album cover that has the phone number on it? I just want to take a look.
Magical Mystery Tour.
But you have to take it and hold it up in a mirror, because the only way that the numbers will appear are in both your imagination and in the stars, but there's stars on the back of the on the Abbey Road cover, and you have to look for that. Now there's not to trip you up, John, but there's no walrus reference, unless you're going to tell me it's the walrus is the harbinger of death in some Scandinavian country.
That was the thing, is they said there is kind of ruddily kind of bullshit like that, where it's the reality was he was saying, because Paul was actually in they didn't have the uniform in them or whatever, it was so what? I think it was
John always came right out and said, when I wrote, when I wrote I Am the Walrus, he's just I got it wrong. That whole story, right? He was writing about the capitalist society and this and that. And he thought the walrus was all right. And then he comes to realize that the walrus was actually the capitalist who's eating all the oysters and not sharing them with all the other creatures of the sea, and blah, 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 blah. And then so he corrects himself in Glass Onion by saying, so the walrus, of course, is Paul. So it's backhanded slap at him, and at the same time sort of taking him off the hook for something that he was when he referenced it. He realized that he was the fool. Anyway.
Yeah. So see, Tony. So it's the actual it's just it's like you're digging into whatever you can to
it's just nonsensical,
but like I definitely was like, people would spin their entire records, but I think I actually made all Revolution number 9 backwards. I think I got
you did it.
I did it, yeah,
at one point the whole way. I remember the first time I did it after having read like some of the things. And
are there
also,
actual backwards tracks on it?
Like, the most famous one, and probably the first one, is in Rain. They literally just put right in there. If you spin it backwards, it says it too. It says they run and hide their heads. They run and hide their heads. And like at some point in the song, towards the end of the song, you hear, and if you spin it backwards, it says they run and hide their heads.
Yeah, and the guitar solo is backwards on that. It's like John and
they're just doing that kind of stuff. But there is a little bit of gibberish, I think, between the gibberish on the White Album, where it's like John. It sounds like John's. This is.
It's right
before Blackbird, right?
Is it before Blackboard, or is it before my guitar gently weeps?
Yeah, the one that before my guitar gently weeps is
yeah,
right into that.
So, but then also there's on the British pressings of Sgt. Pepper, it has that run out groove that
I'm so tired. I wonder if can I come? You say you put me on, but there's no joke doing it. I give you everything I've got for a little piece of mind.
Yeah.
Like at the end of that, the first time I ever spun that backwards, and I'm like in 7th grade or something like that, and I've got some sort of record player at this point. My parents had bought me a stereo. Like they bought my older brother and I a stereo. We shared a room. It had it did have like a plastic dust cover, so it looked professional. It had an 8-track tape player on there. It had a receiver. And it had a turntable,
right?
Yeah, and a stacking turntable that you could didn't have or did it have a stacking turntable? My parents had a stacker. Like my parents had an old. I should know it.
Was it only the like the high end stereos didn't have that swing arm where you could stack the
right? It did have a swing. It had to have had it.
It is almost impossible to find a record from like somewhere around 69 or 70 up to like 75 if it's a double record set that doesn't have side 1 and 4 and 2 and 3, right? Because you stack them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
You're right. And my parents would go out to dinner and stuff like that and leave us with babysitters. And there were 4 of us kids. And they would put like a stack of records on the spindle and just go, okay, so Chris, you'll have no problems with, he'll sit right there and he's going to listen to these records, and blah, blah, blah. But that was always my thing, and I'd be like, I want that Roy Orbison record. I want that. They had a Mamas and Papas record that I liked when I was like, I want that one on there. What's that?
You have a Monkeys album on there?
No, it was like, these are things that actually my mom listened to. I was lucky that like my mom bought Talking Book back in the day. Like those are like, so Stevie Wonder to me is
nice.
Not like,
wow,
that's not old. Like she also was like, baby love, baby. Like we had a lot of that.
There was a point, because my dad was a Stevie Wonder fan too.
Wow.
And he was a Ray Charles fan too. But then, right, when it was like Motown 60s Stevie Wonder, right? My Sharia Moore, but then all of a sudden you get Talking Book and it's kind of like, what happened to Stevie? You know what I mean? It's like Stevie got like, got a little trippy and like that.
It's very interesting that you would say that, John. And I never thought of that before, because it's like the last record that my mom bought by Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
So
I'm not buying that guy again.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like intervisions and like
She
great
didn't
stuff.
have intervisions. She had talking book.
But this is kind of, that's because it's there is this weird thing that because I remember my parents were not.
It had "You Are the Sunshine" of my life on it, which was